up, you guys? Welcome back to my bookish world. Today I am here to do my July wrap-up. So for the month of July, I did not read as much as I was planning on, which always sucks. But I did read 8 books, which is an improvement from June, where I only read 4. I doubled it, so that's cool. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first book that I read, that I finished in July and started, because I technically finished The Ghost We Keep in July, but we're not going to talk about that, is When You Are Everything by Ashley Woodfolk. I read Ashley Woodfolk's debut, The Beauty That Remains, a few years ago and really enjoyed it. And I was really excited about When You Are Everything because it focuses on a friendship breakup, which to me, I think, is something that isn't really explored as much in YA. So I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this a 3.5, not because I didn't enjoy the subject matter and the story as a whole. I just think the story was maybe a little bit too young for me, which again is more of a personal preference, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read more that Ashley Woodfolk puts out. Then I read The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. I gave this one a 4 stars. I've been going into Christina Lauren's romance novels lately with low expectations, not because I don't love their novels, but because I haven't, people have not been giving her books the best ratings, or the best reviews, but I don't know. I think going into it with lower expectations makes me enjoy it more. And I think the story, which follows a HGTV couple that is on the fritz on a book tour, and then the 2 assistants to each person in their romance, was so interesting, and the entire story was just really great. I also loved the there's some mixed media where there's an interview and also little chapters of the book that the HGTV couple is putting forward. So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the romance. And then I read Kate in Waiting by Becky Albertalli. So I have been planning to read this book since April when it came out, and I'm finally got to it. It's been on my TBR every single month, and I don't know why I was so nervous. I haven't read a Becky Albertalli book technically since What If It's Us, besides her Love Creekwood thing that I read last year, which is a little novella and takes place in the same world as, Simon Versus. So this is not a Simon Versus book, which I think is part of what worried me. But I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 stars. It was such a fast read, and I loved the story. It's basically about this girl named Kate who has a best friend named Anderson who is gay, and they have communal crushes. So they usually like the same guy. But then their communal crush comes to their school and kind of turns everything on their head and kind of messes with their friendship a little bit, and challenges that friendship. But I really enjoyed it, and I think that the romance that did end up happening was better off, and I think I liked it even more because I really saw how, in this case, the person was changing to try to impress Kate, and I really enjoyed that. And then I read Grace and Glory, which I gave 5 stars. So this is by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the last book in the Harbinger trilogy. The first book being Storm and Fury, the second book being Rage and Ruin, which is a spinoff off of the Dark Elements trilogy. That's a lot. But I read Rage and Ruin last year and adored it. And I did not think that, I've read plenty of series finales by this author, and man, does she do her series finales really well. I absolutely adored this book. The storyline, I just loved it. This book follows a girl named Trinity who is a trueborn, meaning that she is the child of an angel and human. And in this world, there are demons and obviously hell and heaven, whatever. But there are gargoyles called wardens. Wardens are the ones that protect the earth from too many demons. And so there's a romance between the Warden Zane and Trinity. And I absolutely adored it. The beginning was so emotional because of the ending of Rage and Ruin, and I was really nervous about it. But I will say that this does have some, I'm trying to think of what it was named. Okay, so the main character has a genetic disease in her eyes called retinitis pigmentosa. And I will say that is own voices. That is actually what the author has. So the losing of sight and not having the best sight is own voices, and it does have a chronic illness in this that is, like I said, own voices. So yeah, but I absolutely adored this book. I love how badass Trinity is. And I'm really sad we're not going to have any more of this world. I hope that she one day writes more because, wow, I just adored it so much. And then I read another anticipated book because that's what I did this month, was read books that I've been meaning to read forever. And that is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So this book is by the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue. And basically it follows this girl named August who moves to New York, and she's going to school in Brooklyn, and every day on the train she sees this girl named Jane who has a leather jacket and tattoos and red Converse, and August has a crush on her, until one day she realizes that something's a little bit off about Jane and that she might be stuck on this subway from 1977. And I loved the mystery aspect of it as well as the romance. There's so much found family in here, and I adored it. She moves into an apartment with 3 other people, and so there's that found family, plus the found family at her work, plus just the found family that she meets throughout the book, and I absolutely adored it. And there's also so much rep in here. Our main character is gay, our main character is bisexual, sorry. One of her roommates is gay. There's there's a drag queen in here. There's a transgender character. There is a pansexual main character, I believe. There's a few different characters, and I really enjoyed it. And it's just was such a wonderful, wonderful romance and mystery, and I loved it so much. And I definitely recommend it. And then I read Blackout by a bunch of different authors. Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. This is a story basically about a blackout in New York City in modern times, which is actually kind of funny following the One Last Stop, just because of, 1977 blackout. But anyway, so this book is a collection of short stories by all these authors that all weave together, which I loved so much. I love it when books have short stories that weave together and make sense, and they're like all related to each other. And I just absolutely adored this. Oh, by the way, I didn't say, but I gave this a 4 stars. And I also gave this like a 4. What did I give it? 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I always just want these books to be longer because I wish there was just so much more depth. But I just adored it so much. And also, this book is the most stunning, naked, and the cover. And I loved it so much. Definitely recommend it. I read it in like 2 days. It was so good. And then I read So You Want to Talk About Race, which I listened to on audiobook throughout the month of August, or not August, it's August now, July. And this book, obviously it's nonfiction. It talks a lot about the authors. I can't remember the name of the author because I suck, but it talks about the author's experiences with racism and learning as she grew up. And so I really enjoyed it. I don't give nonfiction a rating, but I did really enjoy it, and I definitely recommend it. I think it's probably a good place to continue with it. Obviously, I think I started with White Fragility back in April, and that's like a good place to start when you're trying to learn about anti-racism, but So You Want to Talk About Race is another place to go from there, and I definitely recommend it. And then the last book I actually just finished like 20 minutes ago. And technically it's August 2nd, but I read the majority of it in July, so I'm counting it. But that was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I literally just finished this. Like I said, I gave it a 4.5 stars. I adored this. I was very nervous about it. Basically, it follows our main character, Chloe Brown, who has fibromyalgia and has chronic pain. And she decides after a near-death experience that she wants to get a life. And this includes some wild things like do something bad, have meaningful sex, go camping, ride a motorbike. And so she moves out into her own apartment and she meets Red, who is the superintendent of her apartment building. And there's a romance there. And I adored it. This book is wonderful and just made me so happy, and I totally recommend it if you're looking for something. There is a little bit of depth with the love interest Red having some experience who had been in a previous like pretty toxic relationship. So there's quite a bit of talk about that and the healing, and it is told in dual perspectives. And I loved that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I didn't know that the author was Black, and well, I knew she was Black. That was dumb. I didn't know she was British, so I didn't know that this was a British romance, which doesn't really make much of a difference, but I do think that that adds more to it. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Totally recommend it. If you're looking for romance, I will say it is a little bit spicy. There are some explicit scenes. There's no fade to black. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So that's it for my July wrap up. I'm really proud of myself because I definitely was not reading as much as I wanted to be in June, and it felt good to get back on the reading train. Even if it wasn't like a lot of books, it was still really nice, and I enjoyed all of the books that I read this month. So that's exciting. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Follow all my social media down below. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!